At 12:17 in the morning, long after the gates of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair have been locked, every electric lamp in the White City goes dark except one. High above the empty midway, a single carriage on the great Ferris wheel is still glowing. And tonight you are the watchman who must discover why. You remain beneath the stone arch of the administration building and listen to the rain. It falls steadily over Jackson Park, tapping on the roofs of the great exhibition halls, dimpling the black water of the lagoon, and whispering through the empty colonnades. Only a moment ago, 250,000 bulbs had outlined domes, bridges, fountains, and statues in white fire. The court of honor had shone so brightly that the low clouds above Chicago seemed to hold a second city within them. Then the scheduled midnight power test began. The domes faded, the fountains disappeared. The long facades of the White City softened into pale shapes beneath the rain. Even the enormous wheel beyond the trees became nothing more than a black circle against a charcoal sky, except for that one warm square of light near its highest point. It has been raining outside my own window all evening. A gentler rain than the one in this story, and I have kept a mug beside me so long that the tea has gone cold. But your tea is still warm. It waits in a stoppered tin flask inside the pocket of your heavy coat, beside a brass watch, a folded route card, and the ring of keys entrusted to you at the beginning of every shift. The keys are the true weight of the job. There are 43 of them. Keys to galleries, offices, machinery rooms, service gates, fire cabinets, and quiet passages the daytime crowds never notice. Together they make a low, familiar music when you walk. You take out your watch. 12:18. The blackout is no surprise. Mr. Harper, chief of the night watch, wrote it clearly in the shift book before leaving for the southern grounds. Powerhouse inspection, main illumination off from 12:15 until 1:05. Patrols to carry hand lamps. Report any current remaining in public buildings. You had expected darkness. You had even looked forward to it. The fair is beautiful when illuminated, but in darkness it becomes quieter, older, and somehow more honest. Without electricity tracing every roof line, the columns resemble pale trees. The broad avenues lose their grandeur and become simple paths through the rain. The enormous buildings seem to lower their voices. The lamp in the carriage does not belong there. You know because the Ferris wheel is on your route. At 11:40, you watched the last attendant sweep the loading platform. At 11:52, Samuel Reed, the night engineer, locked the controller and placed the red safety bar through its brass handles. At 11:57, you walked the length of the platform yourself, looked into every carriage at ground level, and signed the wheel register. No passenger had been left aboard. No maintenance crew had permission to climb. The wheel was stopped, balanced, and secured for the night. Yet one carriage is lit as though a traveler has remained behind. You raise your hand lamp and study it through the rain. The carriage hangs almost 260 feet above the midway. From here it looks no larger than a matchbox. Its windows give off a steady amber glow, not the sharp white glare of the fair's electric bulbs. No shadow crosses them, nothing moves. That helps. Whatever the light means, no one appears to be struggling inside. The wheel itself is still. Its spokes do not tremble. The storm is only rain, with no hard wind from the lake and no thunder above the clouds. There is time to investigate carefully. You turn back toward the night office. It occupies a modest room tucked behind the grand western stair of the administration building. During the day, thousands of visitors pass within 20 paces of its door without seeing it. They look upward instead, toward the gilded dome, the heroic statues, and the bright flags moving high above the court. The watch office has no statue and no flag. It has a scarred oak desk, 2 chairs, a coal stove, a row of pegs, and a square window that looks onto a service courtyard. The small stove is drawing well, a copper kettle murmurs on top, and your spare gloves hang from the hearth rail, drying after the first round. You shut the door against the rain and set your lamp on the desk. The shift book lies open where you left it. You read Mr. Harper's instruction again. The letters have not changed. Main illumination off from 12:15 until 1:05. Report any current remaining in public buildings. The Ferris wheel is not a public building, but the meaning is close enough. You turn back 1 page to Samuel Reed's entry, 11:52 p.m. Wheel stopped and secured. All 36 cars empty. Controller locked. West brake set. Inspection lamp removed from car 19. You pause at the final sentence. An inspection lamp is a portable electric lantern used when mechanics examine the axles and suspension rods. It is powered by a cable from the station below. If Samuel removed it, no light should remain anywhere on the wheel. You trace the sentence with 1 finger. The ink is dry. Under it sits Samuel's small, careful signature. Beside the book is the wheel register you carried back from the Midway. You open it to tonight's page. Each car number appears in a column, 1 through 36. A neat check stands beside every one. Your own initials are at the bottom. But the paper feels thicker beneath your thumb than it did earlier. 2 pages have been fastened together near the binding with a drop of something clear. Paste, perhaps, or sugar water. You ease them apart. They separate without tearing. Between them is a narrow strip of cream-colored paper. On it, in blue pencil, someone has drawn a circle with 36 short marks around its edge. 1 mark near the top has been darkened. Beneath the circle are 7 words. When the city sleeps, count the windows. There is no signature. You read it twice. Then you hold the paper near the desk lamp. The blue pencil is faint and worn, but the line was drawn recently. 1 corner is still crisp. On the reverse is a pale brown ring left by the bottom of a cup. The message does not feel like a warning. It feels like an invitation written by someone who knows where you would look. That is more curious. You slip the paper into your breast pocket and pour half a cup of hot water from the kettle into the basin. You wet a cloth, wipe the rain from your face, and consider your route. The quickest path to the wheel runs west across the Court of Honor, north beside the Manufactures and Liberal Arts Building, and then through the connecting gate to the Midway Plaisance. In dry weather, it takes 11 minutes. Tonight, with wet paving and low visibility, it will take 15. Before leaving, you perform the small habits that make a night watchman dependable. You trim the wick of your hand lamp. You test the latch on the stove. You note the time in the book. 12:24. Investigating unapproved light at Ferris wheel. Grounds otherwise secure. Then you button your coat to the throat, settle your cap, take your staff, and step back into the sleeping city. The first part of your walk takes you through the Court of Honor. At night, after the crowds have gone, you can hear individual raindrops falling from the cornices. Your lamp makes a small circle on the wet pavement. Beyond it, the agricultural building rises pale and silent. Across the Grand Basin, the gilded figure of the Republic is almost invisible except when a break in the clouds gives her the faintest silver outline. Her raised arms hold their unseen symbols over dark water. You cross the bridge slowly. The lagoon below carries scraps of reflected light from the single-wheel carriage, though the wheel itself is far away. Each reflection stretches, breaks, and joins again as rain touches the surface. It is remarkable that one modest lamp, hanging in so large a darkness, can travel so far. Near the bridge's center you stop. From this angle, the wheel is framed between two exhibition roofs. The glowing carriage rests at the top, just left of center. "Count the windows," the note said. The passenger cars are shaped like broad railway coaches, each large enough to carry 60 people. From a distance you can make out 5 illuminated windows along the visible side of the glowing car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 4 are evenly bright. The 5th, at the far end, is darker. Not dark exactly, covered. Something has been placed inside the window, a square object blocking the lamp. As you watch, the range shifts and a slim line of gold appears around it. There is no movement. It is not a person, a board perhaps, or a box. You continue across the bridge. The rain strengthens beneath the open sky, then softens the moment you enter the covered arcade of the Manufactures and Liberal Arts building. Its doors are locked, but the exterior gallery runs for hundreds of feet beneath a roof of iron and glass. Your steps make gentle echoes between the columns. Through the tall windows, you glimpse sleeping exhibits. Furniture rests beneath dust cloths. Glass cases hold clocks, books, carpets, scientific instruments, and porcelain from countries whose names are painted in gold above darkened booths. Flags hang without movement from the rafters. A model ship seems to float in the black interior. You have always liked this part of the route. Halfway along the arcade, a door opens ahead. A warm blade of lamplight falls across the wet stone. You stop and lower your staff. Mrs. Hattie Bell steps out carrying a covered basket. She manages the small staff dining room near the north entrance and seems to know every night worker on the grounds. She is a compact woman with silver at her temples, an apron beneath her coat, and the calm expression of someone who has never once been surprised by a boiling pot or a difficult person. "I wondered when you would come this way," she says. "Did Mr. Harper send you?" "No, Mr. Harper never sends anyone when he can leave a note and make them find the rest for themselves." The answer is so precise that you look at her basket. What is in there? Nothing that will help you count windows. She lifts the cloth at one corner. Inside are 6 thick white cups wrapped in towels, a jar of sugar, and a stack of sandwiches cut into squares. "You know about the light," you say. Mrs. Bell adjusts the cloth. "I know the soup was wanted early tonight. I know Samuel Reed asked for 6 cups instead of 5. And I know you ought to keep walking before your socks get wet through. Is anyone in the carriage?" Her teasing expression softens. "No one is in danger. You have my word." The sentence loosens a knot you had not noticed beneath your ribs. "Then why is it lit?" "That is not my part to tell." She reaches into her coat pocket and gives you a small brass disc. It resembles a fare admission token, though no portrait or price is stamped upon it. One side bears the outline of a wheel. The other bears 3 letters, NCW. What does that stand for? "I have heard 4 explanations," she says. "All of them may be lies." She closes your fingers around the disc. When you reach the platform, look beneath the west stair. The little key is not on your ring. Where is it? Mrs. Bell nods toward the token. You turn it over. What seemed to be a narrow decorative ridge along the edge has a tiny tooth cut into it. The token itself is a key. The sandwiches will keep, she says, but not forever. Then she wishes you a quiet round and walks east toward the administration building, carrying the 6 cups into the darkness. You watch until her lamp disappears around a column. 6 cups. Samuel had asked for 6 instead of 5. You count the people you know to be on the Western Night grounds. Samuel Reed at the wheel, Thomas Vale with the electricians, Lena Moreau in horticulture, Mr. Harper on the Southern Patrol, and Mrs. Bell herself. 5. The 6th cup must be meant for you. The thought should answer the mystery. Instead, it opens another part of it. Why would 5 of the most sensible people at the fair leave an unexplained lamp at the top of the Ferris wheel during a power inspection? Why hide a key in the night register? And why make you cross half the grounds in the rain to learn what they could have told you beside the office stove? Because you suspect the walk is part of it. You continue north. The covered arcade ends near the service gate. You unlock it with key 28, pass through and lock it behind you. The midway lies ahead as a broad, dark avenue stretching west beyond the reach of your lamp. Tonight the rain has washed the avenue clean. The booths are shuttered. Painted towers rise like cliffs on either side. A loose banner taps gently against a pole. Somewhere under cover, a camel gives one long, sleepy complaint and is quiet again. At the eastern end of the midway stands the wheel. Even after months of guarding it, its size still changes the way you breathe. 2 vast iron towers support the axle. 36 cars hang around the rim. The whole structure resembles a bicycle wheel made for a giant, delicate in pattern and impossible in scale. In daylight it turns so slowly that visitors on the platform sometimes believe it has stopped. Tonight it truly has stopped, and the silence around it feels like the silence near a sleeping animal. The illuminated carriage remains near the top. Up close you can see the amber light trembling faintly through the rain. The covered 5th window is clearer too. A rectangle has been fixed against the glass from inside. It may be a sign, though you cannot read it from the ground. The public gate to the loading platform is chained. The chain is secure. The padlock shows no mark. You use key 31, step through, and lock the gate behind you. The platform roof amplifies the rain into a steady, comforting roar. Everything appears as it did at 11:57. Benches stand empty. The ticket windows are shuttered. The operator's booth is locked. The red safety bar remains through the brass controller handles. The west brake lever is down, and the seal Samuel tied around it is unbroken. You walk the entire platform once. 4 cars rest near loading level, 2 on each side. You raise your lamp to their windows, empty seats, dry floors, polished brass rails, the faint smell of wet iron and machine oil. No one is concealed here. You stand beneath the center of the wheel and listen. Rain on glass, rain on timber, water running through a gutter, the occasional minute creak of metal cooling in the night, and beneath all of it, so faint you nearly mistake it for your own pulse, a soft electrical hum. It does not come from the operator's booth. It comes from beneath the west stair. The stair leads from the platform to a maintenance gallery. Its lower steps conceal a paneled cupboard painted the same deep green as the surrounding woodwork. You have passed it dozens of times without noticing a keyhole. Now, when you kneel and bring the lamp close, you see a narrow slot shaped to accept the edge of the brass token. You insert the disc. It turns with a quiet click. The cupboard door opens. Inside is a mahogany box the size of a traveling trunk. Brass terminals rise from its lid. Insulated wires disappear through a porcelain fitting in the rear wall. A small gauge on the front quivers just above 0. You recognize the device from the electricity building. It is a storage battery, one of the new accumulators demonstrated to visitors who are fascinated by the idea that power might be saved for later. Like rainwater in a cistern, this one has been connected to the wheel. A paper label hangs from a terminal. One carriage only, low current, tested TV, Thomas Vale. So, the light is deliberate. It does not draw from the fair's darkened mains. The battery sends a small current through a separate wire, up the tower, across a contact at the axle, and out to a single car. You follow the cable diagram pinned to the inside of the door. The marked car is number 26. On the floor beside the battery rests a flat ledger bound in cracked blue cloth. You lift it carefully. The cover bears the same 3 letters as the token, NCW, and inside are pages of names and dates. The earliest entry is from June, shortly after the wheel began carrying passengers. 5 names appear beneath it: an electrician, a cleaner, a fire patrolman, a dining room cook, and a wheel mechanic. Each has written one sentence. I had not known the lake looked silver at night. The roof seemed close enough to touch. For once, no one asked me to sweep beneath their feet. We drank coffee above Chicago. The city was quiet from there. Later pages carry later dates and other groups of names: typesetters, stable hands, laundresses, guards, gardeners, men who tend boilers below ground, and women who mend costumes behind the theaters. Workers whose jobs begin before the fair opens or continue after it closes. Every page records a ride after midnight. At the bottom of the most recent page, someone has written the 3 letters in full: Night Company of the Wheel. Beneath that is a final line: those who keep the fair while others sleep should see once what they have kept. You sit back on your heels. The hum of the battery fills the cupboard. Above you, 260 feet in the rain, carriage 26 glows like a room prepared for a guest. Several pieces settle into place: the 6 cups, the sandwiches, Samuel's careful request, the hidden note, Mrs. Bell's token. The light is not a fault and not an emergency. It is a signal used by the night workers, perhaps with Mr. Harper's permission, perhaps without it. But one question remains: why tonight? You turn to the last written page. It contains tonight's date. 5 names have already been entered: Hattie Bell, Samuel Reed, Thomas Vale, Lena Moreau, Edwin Harper. A 6th line waits below them. Your name has been written there in light pencil, faint enough to erase. Beside it is an empty box for your signature. The page gives no time for the ride, no meeting place, only a sentence beneath the names: Return by 1, bring the light with you. You take out your watch. 12:51, 9 minutes remain. You look around the platform. Nothing moves. No lamps approach along the midway. The operator's booth is still locked, and Samuel is nowhere in sight. Bring the light with you. Your hand lamp is an ordinary oil lamp. The carriage already has an electric one. Perhaps the sentence means the ledger. Perhaps it means the brass token. Then you notice a second latch at the back of the cupboard. It opens onto a narrow compartment containing 6 folded paper lanterns. 5 are painted with names: Hattie, Samuel, Thomas, Lena, Edwin. The 6th is blank. Beside them stands a taper and a little bottle of lamp oil. You understand. You take the blank lantern from the compartment. Its thin wooden frame unfolds into a small square. The paper is cream-colored, with a wheel painted in pale gold on 2 sides. You light the taper from your hand lamp, touch it to the lantern's wick, and wait while a quiet flame grows behind the paper. The lantern gives off no more light than a bedside candle, but beneath the enormous black wheel it seems wonderfully bright. You close the cupboard and slip the blue ledger under your arm. At exactly 1 o'clock, you return to the entrance of the platform carrying both lights. For a moment you are alone. Then a warm square appears far down the midway. Another joins it from the south. The 3rd comes through the service gate behind you. A 4th moves beneath the shadow of a shuttered theater. A 5th emerges from the wheel's machine house. 5 paper lanterns approach through the rain. Mrs. Bell arrives first, her basket covered and dry beneath an oilcloth cape. Thomas Vale follows, tall and stooped, with a roll of electrical drawings tucked under one arm. Lena Moreau from the horticultural building carries a small pot of mint, as though no gathering is complete without a living plant. Mr. Harper walks beside her in his dark watch coat, and Samuel Reed comes last from the machine house, wiping clean hands on a square of cotton waste. Their lanterns are identical to yours. Mr. Harper glances at the blue ledger beneath your arm. You found the instructions, he says, eventually. Then the instructions were adequate. They were hidden between 2 pages of my register. A public notice seemed unwise. Mrs. Bell gives him a look. He has been practicing that answer since supper. Samuel smiles and unlocks the operator's booth. You remain by the gate. The main current is off, you say. The brake is sealed. The wheel is closed for the night. Mr. Harper nods with approval, as though you have given the answer he hoped to hear. All true. What else? Car 26 is drawing from an accumulator below the west stair. Thomas wired it. Samuel removed the regular inspection lamp from car 19, so his log would remain accurate. The rest of you arranged food for 6. Also true. You planned a ride. Only if the watchman responsible for this ground concludes that it can be done safely. He hands you a folded sheet bearing 2 signatures, his own and that of the night superintendent at the powerhouse. It authorizes a 10-minute low-current machinery test beginning at 1:10. The wheel may complete 1 full rotation under Samuel's control. The platform is to remain closed. All brakes, bearings, and cars have been inspected. The weather station reports steady rain with no lightning and negligible wind. There is even a space for your counter-signature. You read every line. Mr. Harper waits without hurrying you. That, more than anything, tells you this is not a prank. A night watch is built on small decisions made in empty places. Doors are locked because you test them. Fires are prevented because you notice heat before flame. Machines remain safe because no one assumes that another person has checked. You walk once more to the west brake. The seal is intact. Samuel breaks it in your presence and demonstrates the lever. Thomas shows you the temporary electrical connection. Lena checks the anemometer ribbon mounted near the platform edge. It barely stirs. Mrs. Bell sets her basket on a bench and does not pretend to understand the machinery. "I inspected the mustard," she says. "It is secure. You sign the authorization. Only then does Mr. Harper take the blue ledger from under your arm. Welcome," he says, "to the night company of the wheel." Car 26 reaches the platform at 1:14. Samuel has brought it down slowly while the rest of you stand behind the safety rail. It is larger than it looked in the sky, a broad enclosed coach with rows of seats, polished rails, and tall windows beaded with rain. The battery lamp hangs at one end, turning the varnished wood honey gold. Against the fifth window is the object you saw from the bridge. It is a painted sign for those who kept the lights. Mrs. Bell lays a cloth over one bench and arranges the cups. Lena sets her mint plant beside the lamp. Thomas checks the temporary wire one final time, then disconnects it. The little accumulator concealed beneath the seat will keep the carriage glowing throughout the ride. You board last. Samuel closes the gate, tests it twice, and takes his place at the controller. He will remain below and bring the wheel through one full turn. There are only 5 passengers after all, but Mrs. Bell pours a 6th cup and places it near the open speaking tube so Samuel can drink when the carriage returns. The machinery engages with a low, deep sound. Your carriage rises. The platform slips gently below the window. The wet roofs of the midway appear one by one. Towers, domes, awnings, painted fronts, and narrow service lanes hidden from visitors. The paper lanterns at the station grow smaller. Beyond them, the white city rests in darkness around its lagoons. No one speaks for the first minute. The wheel carries you upward with such steadiness that your tea hardly trembles. Rain makes shining paths across the glass. Inside there is only warmth, the quiet click of suspension joints, and the clean scent of mint whenever Lena brushes its leaves. Thomas explains the custom in a low voice. The first members formed the night company in June, after a cleaner remarked that she had polished the carriage windows for weeks without once seeing the view through them. Samuel arranged a test rotation. Mr. Harper made it official enough to be safe and unofficial enough to remain kind. Since then, one small group of night workers has ridden each month. "Why choose me tonight?" you ask. Mr. Harper looks out at the grounds. "Because you have walked this city for 12 weeks and never hurried around. Because you know which door swells in rain and which boiler gauge reads 2 pounds high. And because every time someone offers to relieve you early, you say you would rather finish what you began." Mrs. Bell passes you a sandwich. "Also," she says, "you looked as though you needed to see something other than locked doors." The carriage reaches the height of the exhibition roofs. At that moment, the inspection current returns. It does not restore the full brilliance of the fair. Instead, the lights awaken in quiet sections. A row of bulbs appears along the electricity building. Then a bridge glows beside the lagoon. Small lamps shine beneath the peristyle, followed by a pearl-colored line around the administration dome. The city reveals itself slowly, as though opening its eyes without waking. From above, the empty avenues are silver with rain. The Grand Basin lies dark and smooth between pale palaces. The Golden Republic catches one warm beam and seems to hold it in her raised hand. Farther east, Lake Michigan is a single deep shadow beneath the clouds. Beyond the park, Chicago spreads north and west in thousands of modest lights. You have guarded every building below. You have checked their doors, smelled for smoke in their corridors, returned lost hats to their owners, guided tired children toward waiting parents, and stood beneath their eaves while storms crossed the lake. But you have never seen them all at once. Now the whole fair fits within one rain-streaked window. The carriage rises to its highest point and pauses while Samuel checks the bearing below. No one minds the pause. Mrs. Bell pours the last of the tea. Lena pinches 2 mint leaves into each cup. Thomas leans his head against the wall. Mr. Harper removes his cap and rests it on his knee. Around you, 35 dark carriages hang in a perfect circle, while yours remains the one small room of light above the sleeping grounds. You finally understand why the note did not simply tell you to report to the platform. You needed to see the lone lamp from below. You needed to cross the city while it was dark and carry your own light through it. Only then could you know what the first members of the night company had learned. Keeping a place is different from owning it. The reward is not that the city belongs to you. It is that for a little while its safety does. The wheel begins its descent. The white city rises around you again. Domes climb past the windows. The midway roofs draw near. The platform lanterns become separate points, then familiar lamps, then 5 small squares reflected on wet boards. When the carriage settles at loading height, Samuel locks the controller and comes aboard for his tea. You sign the blue ledger while he drinks. Beside your name, you write 1 sentence. 1 light was enough to find the way. By 2 o'clock, the temporary wires are removed. The accumulator is stored, and every brake has been reset and sealed. Mrs. Bell wraps the remaining sandwiches. Lena carries her mint back toward horticulture. Thomas returns to the powerhouse. Samuel locks the booth. Mr. Harper walks with you as far as the service gate, then turns south to finish his own patrol. You cross the court of honor alone. The rain has softened to a mist. Inspection lights go dark behind you, 1 section at a time, leaving the fair in peaceful shadow. Your keys keep their familiar rhythm. The brass token rests warm in your pocket. At the office, the stove still glows. You hang your coat, place your gloves on the rail, and write the final report in the shift book. Machinery test completed safely, wheels secured, western grounds quiet. You do not mention the sandwiches, the mint, or the city seen from above. Some facts belong in official ink, others are kept more carefully. You pour the last of your tea and sit beside the square window. Outside, water slips from the courtyard roof in a slow silver thread. The great buildings stand unseen beyond the wall, every door secure, every gallery empty, every lamp at rest. In less than 4 hours, cooks will arrive, then cleaners, attendants, guides, musicians, and the first visitors waiting at the gates. The white city will become bright and busy again. For now, it sleeps, and you are here. The clock ticks, the kettle gives 1 quiet sigh, your keys lie in an orderly circle on the desk. Far beyond the roof, carriage 26 hangs dark among the others. Yet when you close your eyes for just a moment, you can still see its warm windows high above the rain, holding a room of light against the night. You know now that it was never a light left on by mistake. It was a light left on for you.